All right, Larry's got a Santa cup. That's how you know things have just gotten real. And we are live on this Thursday, the 2nd of May, the second Thursday of May. I'm already on a roll. May 8th, Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, alongside myself, John Laws of Discover South Florida. And we have a lot to get to this evening, a lot of developments happening in West Palm Beach. Some very interesting, present some theories of what may be going on over there. Before we do that, though, we're going to talk about West Palmetto Park Road. And in this particular instance, the Palmetto Park Plaza, which is right off I-95 there at Palmetto Park Road. You may, anytime you've gone by there, you may recognize what used to be a Kmart. You got a Publix, and now you're going to have 341 new homes going up under Florida's biggest affordable housing law. You've heard us talk about it before. It's the Live Local Act. And, Boca Raton is now trying to capitalize on that much more with trying to accommodate the, all the housing problems that, frankly, it's not just a Boca problem. I mean, it's a Florida problem, particularly in South Florida. Local workers not being able to live near where they work. And an older plaza like Palmetto Park Square has really not been used for the most part. So this is where the new plan comes into place, being brought to you in part by Sea League Enterprises. They've submitted a revised proposal to redevelop the plaza with 341 residences, which is up from 319 last year, which I'm a little confused there, Larry. Does that mean that they had made a previous proposal that was 319?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So as you can imagine, this stuff takes time, right? So my understanding is they made a proposal before, and now they're reproposing the project with the new Live Local status, right?
Right.
Which can make things pretty efficient. So this project could move relatively quickly, which is cool. And so this would be Boca's first ever actual Live Local project. There's other affordable housing projects that have been done in Boca,
but not under.
They haven't been done under the Live Local system. And the new Live Local proposals have kind of made things even more efficient to move along big developments like this, which, in my opinion, is great. So some others may not think so, but I think it's great. And I think this, for example, every time I drive by this section of Boca over here, I'm just like, man, this thing, they got to redevelop this thing, right? And finally, it sounds like we're moving in the right direction. At least this could still probably take time, but yeah.
Of course it's going to take time. But I feel like so many of the shops and things, kind of in our local area, like I live right off Federal, and all the strip malls and stuff along there. It seems like every building, I don't know if it's under a new city ordinance or everybody just is in a position where it's like, it's time to kind of not necessarily upgrade, but kind of give a facelift, if you will, to, all these shops to make everything look a little more modern.
Well, over where you live, you're right off Federal Highway there, and Investments Limited, Jim Batmazium owns a lot of that stuff. And so he's been little by little with CJM Construction, just knocking out the facade upgrades, right?
Yeah. So, there's been a lot of it.
It's been a lot, and it looks good. Yeah, I think it's all positive,
much needed.
And then so you have all that, and so Investments Limited improving the facades, and other owners improving their facades, and then you have this, right? Like this thing right here, which has been there like this since Kmart clearly went out of business, and that's been a while. So
it's been a while. I know. I was kind of reflecting on the last time I ever actually stepped foot in a Kmart. I'm like, well, yeah, I bet it's been at least 20 years.
This thing's got to have been vacant for at least 10, 15, 20, maybe, to your point. It's something like that, right? So
it's kind of gone along the way of Blockbuster Video, and I'm trying to think of other national chains that, have gone by the wayside so far in the 21st century that we'd remember. But
so this is just like every time you drive by, you're like, what are we doing here? This is right off of Palmetto Park Road, which is the hub or the straight shot from 95 right into downtown Boca Raton. And, Boca's supposed to be like nice. And this is shit. Right? This is like the ghetto. Yeah. It's
right.
it's actually
the
not
closest.
that bad.
I know the closest thing to get. Yeah, no, it's just old.
Yeah.
And seeing
By the
spaces
way,
that
there's a
aren't being
Chick-fil-A.
utilized. I mean, I have to believe this is what the Live Local Act was intended for. These mixed-use developments where not only can you revitalize the shopping centers, but you also make room for decent living locations for, locals, so they don't have to continue to drive from God knows where just to go to work. I think it's great.
So you can see this is like a big piece of land. I dropped myself in the middle of it, and you can't even, you don't even know where you're at. But like, for example, here, let's drop closer so you can kind of see. So you have United States Postal Service.
I feel like a post office somehow always finds its way in the middle of one of these developments.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some small retail establishments. Then you have Publix, and then over here is where, all the way down that way is where the Kmart is. And so from what I've seen or read, what they talked about was putting the Publix over here, an upgraded Publix over here, and then redeveloping all of this like over here.
Yeah.
And they're obviously keeping like the Chick-fil-A. And so these front stores are still staying, it seems like, from what I saw from the plan that they proposed. The plan's right here. So yeah, it looks like TD Bank, Chick-fil-A, all that stuff.
Right. They essentially hide all this other stuff. It's sort of like sweeping the crud under the rug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not that as bad as I was describing before, but like I said,
it's just old.
It needs it. It totally needs it. And so this is where the Publix would go. And so this is where they're proposing the 5-story apartment complex. And then right here is where I think they're putting the townhomes, it looks like, because there's some townhomes involved in this, right? So there was 341 residences planned, which is up from the 319 last year. And out of that 341 residences, 136 of those, which is about 40%, would be priced as affordable, which still isn't very cheap, but it'll be affordable technically to meet the Live Local standards. And then you have, as we discussed, there's that multifamily building that's going to be 5 stories right here. And then you have the townhomes. They go right there. Yep. So that's it. And they're going to keep the Publix. It looks like they plan to keep a lot of these, a handful of these tenants that are there. And then there'll be a little bit more green space, supposedly. I don't know where they're going to fit that, but they're going to figure that out. And they're targeting 2029 for completion. So, we got 4 solid years. The cool thing, as I mentioned earlier, is Live Local gives you, when you apply under the Live Local Act, if you meet that criteria, you get to move through approvals with the city a lot faster. They call it administrative approvals. So you don't have to go through the longer process that a city would normally make you go through. The one thing that the city, I guess, has a little control over is they can prevent you from moving through administratively if you don't have parking set up properly. So right now they're saying, hey, the parking might not meet the standard that we require, so we can't go to the administrative process until we get this parking
one
situation.
Loophole. They kind of put in a loophole to give the locals who don't like the idea a chance, which I'm sure there are going to be people that
totally
have nothing else to do but fight progress.
We lean more pro progress here, as you can tell.
Clearly.
But yeah, so it's funny because on Nextdoor they were like showing like all these Nextdoor comments, and there was a handful of people that are just like, how are we going to make these roads wider? The traffic's going to be crazy. So they did a traffic study, and this traffic study, I don't know how they got these numbers, but supposedly the traffic is expected to be reduced by doing this project. I don't know, but this is what they're saying. They're saying here, the traffic study for this project actually says it'll reduce vehicle trips. Yes, you heard that right. By over 3,800 trips a day due to the shift to more walkable and local lifestyles.
Which
So
makes sense, right? I mean, that's the whole perk of mixed use developments, obviously.
yeah. And then there was people that were complaining that, hey, property values are going to go down if you do this project.
Of course.
I don't know if I understand that logic entirely. Like for me, if you're buying, for example, by the way, my sister lives right here. So
okay.
literally this is like her house. One of these houses are her house. So she backs up right to this. And I'll tell you, she's super pumped about this, right? Because frankly,
walk to the store.
They can walk out their backyard. They can they have a little way to get out. And so they'll walk out their back and then they'll have this awesome, updated, brand new, all these amenities. That's great. So generally speaking, I think it's net positive for the neighbors, the neighborhood, brand new Publix. It's going to be huge. Right. And then updated storefronts, and it'll just be way nicer. So I think generally it'll be a net positive when it's done. It's going to be a pretty big project. My guess is they keep, at some point my guess is phase one is relocate Publix because they're going to bulldoze it. So I guess that's probably one of the big projects. This would be my guess. And then get this all right over here and keep this operational while they tear all this down over here and then build that. So I don't think the whole space is going to be completely unusable while they're going through this,
Yeah. And again, the most important thing to remember is you still have the Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A will remain open and functional.
That's what, right, by default, if there's a Chick-fil-A, that's what determines the traffic. Let's be real.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, if we're talking traffic studies, Chick-fil-A is the one causing most of the traffic. That Chick-fil-A has a line like every other Chick-fil-A.
Every Chick-fil-A I've ever seen in 4 states has a line. It's just the thing. I don't care where you are in America. But anywho, I digress. My one question, though, when so often I feel like when we've been talking about a lot of these redevelopments and things that are up and coming, so often we talk about Pompano Beach, right? Does that kind of spur some competition, friendly competition, maybe unfriendly competition between some of these local communities to kind of up their game? You see like Pompano's all the talk. Well, Boca's like, well, they're not going to outdo us. Do you feel like that's a thing? I'm just curious.
I don't know. do
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, city administrators, the people that are involved in the CRA, I wonder if they trade notes, help each other out, what works, what doesn't work, find out what developer sucks or was a pain in the ass to deal with versus others, right? So I'm sure these developers who are pitching, this is an example one, but we've talked about the pitches for the downtown area where they were all pitching the different big players. I'm sure they're trying to keep a good reputation with these community redevelopment agencies so they can get good referrals, right? I'm sure that's a thing. But maybe. Personally, if it was me, I would care. Right. I'd be like, yeah, let's make our city the best, right? So
and not just for the sake of being a competitor, but because you want to maintain the reputation of being the one that is the gold standard of Palm Beach County or North Broward County, whatever.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at least from the outside, like myself, I'm not involved in the city minutia here, but from the outside, if you look at Delray and you just see how much progress they made, that's a white paper in itself on how to take a city from 20 years ago being basically a mess to one of the best in the area, right? Yeah, it's just incredible. So I'm sure there's some pride in that, right? So
since we've been crunching numbers on that city the past couple of days with some of our upcoming videos, it still doesn't cease to amaze me how good of a job Delray has done in taking their town to the next level while maintaining kind of that small town feel to to it somewhat.
Yeah, what I've learned from investing in Broward County, Palm Beach County, and even further north is, over the years, what we've seen is almost the general rise of South Florida has affected every city and benefited every city, right? The population growth, the developers are looking for stuff in all these cities. They're just trying to find the best opportunity. So, it's almost anywhere you invest in, assuming the market's moving in your favor, you're going to win. And then you can get real nuanced about, should I buy next to this project, right? This project might be a big win. I think it takes longer to see some of those themes play out. Like, should I buy right on the cusp of downtown West Palm, which we're about to talk about next, just because like long term that's going to be the real place where you get that alpha, because it's gonna go once our buddy Steve Ross and Greene and everybody else decides to continue to invest and buy more and build. So yeah.
So without further ado, let's talk about our old friend Steve Ross. He's doing more work. He's just dropped $40 million on a local TV studio in downtown West Palm Beach, which for anyone who's been around downtown West Palm Beach, you immediately know it's WPTV. Now, being a former television news person myself, it got my attention just because the headlines were kind of misleading when I saw it. So when I was putting in some of these, I was trying to be, a little more specific, but still right to the point. Buys the studio location. At first, when I saw that headline, the way that other outlets had it and whatnot, I was like, oh my God, this man is going to build a TV network. That was what I immediately assumed without actually reading anything. I'm like, what is this guy doing? I mean, is this going to be like Bloomberg TV? Like, what is Steve Ross doing? This is insane. He really is going to create an empire, but which he still is, but not in the way that I immediately assumed may be the case. If you've ever seen where WPTV's studio is located, it's right there on the water in downtown West Palm Beach. It's a terrific location. As nice of a location as I've ever seen for a local television studio, and that includes many top markets. To have a waterfront place like that, that's very nice. It's also what I found interesting, and I said to you right away when we were talking about it, if you look right there on the other side of the train tracks, that is the property that Doge has marked, the 84,000 square feet government building, to sell off. I have a hard time believing that's a coincidence. I'm willing to bet Steve Ross may be the one who ultimately ends up buying it. Am I wrong, Larry?
One of these guys, one of these big players, Greene, Ross, some of them, some others in the area that are really pushing hard in this market. Yeah, I think these guys are just picking up whatever they can because they're all pushing in the same direction. Redevelop in West Palm Beach to make it a behemoth, right? They really believe in it, and I think it's a pretty fair, smart play, especially for the long term. I mean, this city's only gonna get bigger and better. And these guys are, they're paying big numbers. It may look like $40 million for this property right here, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? From Scripps' perspective, who's the corporate owner of WPTV, they're one of those national media conglomerates. They had an affiliate when I was working in Tulsa. They own the NBC there, coincidentally. I think that was actually a great play by them because the modern TV newsroom is much smaller than it used to be, with everybody doing things online. I mean, practically you can do it all for your phone, it feels like. So no, I think they picked a good time to, try to get a good payoff off that, and move to a better location to fit your needs. No, that was actually a smart move by Scripps. Whoever approached who, well done.
And who knows what Ross is going to do with this thing, to your point. It's a big piece of land with great views, like you said, and there's pretty tall buildings adjacent. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to build either a massive office building or a residential project here that's just epic, right? With this, I mean, look at these. You're going to have incredible lake views. in
I
like
wonder, I
180
mean,
degrees or more.
yeah,
Right.
that's got to be residential. I mean, wouldn't you think just being on the water like that, wouldn't that scream a residential?
It feels that way. It feels that way. It is a little bit on the cusp of like everything else, but there are other resi projects here. Like here you go, the Edge, West Palm Beach. So there are other buildings here that exist, and so it might make sense to do that. There's also office space here. So yeah,
I'd be
like right here.
interested to know, it's like, because obviously Related Ross has so many other projects going on in that area. I mean, we have notes here. My goodness, 6 office buildings, which are either owned, under construction, or recently completed. You have one Flagler. I know we've talked about that, the brand new 25-story tower. It's already nearing full, it's almost fully leased. City Place, my goodness, 10 City Place, 15 City Place, new office towers rising on land. And that was Related Ross back in 2000, really? Wow. So anyway, so you take that Lakeside TV studio, and I just wonder the thought process. How do you decide what you're going to put there? You know what I mean? Because it almost feels like it's one of those that when you were saying earlier, when you have the opportunity to take something like that, you take it, and then let's just worry about the rest later. I'd be interested to know like how they decide what they're going to put there.
Well, what's interesting, like I just was super curious, so I pulled it up. First, let's just note that Scripps bought it for $17 million in 2001, so they've more than doubled their money. It's been 20 something years, but that was more than double what they paid for it. So good for them. And then just to comment on the size of this building, it's a 70,000 square foot building,
which is huge.
2 stories.
Studio, man.
Yeah,
that's actually very big.
Square feet, 2 stories. So pretty interesting. There's a lot of square feet there. So this could be, they could just repurpose it and keep it the way it is and use it, or just redevelop the interior, right? It was built in 2000, so it's not super old. It's only a 25-year-old building, but hey, we've seen buildings that were built in early 2000s get torn down in Miami to make way for massive projects anyway. So it's not out of the realm of possibility here to tear this thing down and build something epic. Either way, Ross and Greene, they own so much stuff all over the place. They're thinking long term. This is dirt long term, and short term they may be able to they're leasing it back right now. So they structured the deal.
I know, right? For like 2.5 years. So it's interesting that there was like, again, they had an opportunity, just buy it now. And I guess you figure the sooner they do it, who knows, it would continue to appreciate anyway. They might be paying even more in a couple of years.
And remember, all these PE guys, these private equity guys, they're buying with partners. They're diversifying their risks. So there were other players in this, right? Wexford Real Estate Investors and Key International, they partnered on this one. They also partnered on something else in 2022 and bought something for $35 million. I guess it's the Reflections Complex next. I don't know if it's next door, but nearby. So that was he's taken down stuff with groups here.
I still think it's funny if he was going to buy an actual TV studio to use it as a TV studio. I mean, that would have been funny. I was like, man, that is hardcore. I don't know what this guy's doing, but that's hardcore. Either way.
Billionaire move. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Right. That's just a flex. I wouldn't even know. All right. Well, anywho, let's stay in downtown West Palm Beach. Let's talk about Currie Park. For anyone who's unaware of it, it's a 13-acre waterfront and one of the most ambitious urban park projects in this state now. It's not just about pretty landscaping. This redesign is all about resilience, culture, and community-powered planning. I'm not totally familiar with Currie Park. Have you been there?
I've driven by it. It's so here it's right up here. So temporary.
Oh, okay.
So actually, I was going to point out, I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to confirm this while we're talking, but one of the big boys owns this dirt here, all over here. I think it's Greene that owns this stuff. Don't quote me on
flip
that.
A coin and just one or the other.
Some big developer, I think it's one of the 2 big names, owns this stuff here, and I'm assuming one day that will be a nice residential high rise. It's just a matter of time, and so this is probably helpful to inspire development, frankly, right? And so that's part of why redeveloping and just improving the public space. And that's what the city can do, right? The community redevelopment agency and the people who are involved in, Parks and Rec, they can improve these spaces to help initiate investment from the private sector, which would be, the private equity guys that are building these big high rises and redeveloping the area. So likely long term, you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff go up right around here. And that's going to be just so much more helpful that there's like this, beautiful park with boat ramp, right? And just nice green space that people can walk and enjoy.
So was this land owned by the city prior?
My understanding is this is Parks and Rec owned. Yeah.
Okay.
Owned.
So, how do they decide? Does a company like Related Ross or Jeff Greene come to the city about that? And it's like, hey, just make me an offer and they'll listen to it? Or how does that come together when you're talking about dealing with, a government entity and deciding what they're going to sell off and how much, et cetera?
Well, they're not selling this Currie Park, right? This is being retained by the city and they're just redeveloping it
okay.
as a park. Just like we've seen like Boca Raton has done, they bought that, they spent like $20 or $40 million on those additional plots of land to build parks, and now they're redeveloping it, and that's all Parks and Rec. So and so the city of Boca, I think they have some bonds, or they took out some form of structured debt to pull that off and purchase that, and so the city already owns this though. So it looks like they're going to spend. They're allocating a fair amount of money to get this done. So they may have taken. They may have issued bonds for this. It doesn't say how they got the money or how they're planning to get the money to do this in this article. At least I didn't see it in here. But again, that's probably what they're doing, or they have the cash, which would be interesting. So, but it's 13 acres on the water. It's arguably one of the best pieces of land in the city, right? This is epic. This Lake Worth Lagoon view here is awesome. This is an awesome walk. And then the boat ramp is really nice. Because there's not a ton of places where you can drop your boat in this area. So
there's not. Yeah, that's a good point.
Improving this is like similar to Boca Raton, where they like redeveloped the boat drop ramp area.
Yeah, Silver. What is it? Silver Palm Park. I'm suddenly drawing a blank. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. So if improving this is going to be just a value add for the public, I think. Make it safer, cleaner, all that. It would be great. But they're talking about a lot of stuff here, right? There is
a lot of green space there.
Yeah. So here's what's coming with Currie Park master plan: public art plaza and tidal amphitheater. So they're putting in an amphitheater, which is interesting. Boundless nature playground for all abilities. Multi-use event lawn, fitness zones, native gardens, and trails. A brand new pier system and resiliency hub that doubles as a community center. Living shoreline strategies to fight erosion and protect marine life. They've brought in some top ecologists to help with this. There's guys in the area that have done other projects like in Lake Worth and stuff that are coming in to work on that. So that's kind of interesting. They talk about that a little bit because of the sea level rise, and so they're elevating the park. They're raising it up. So they're probably bringing in a bunch of dirt. So I can understand why they're about to spend $60 million to just increase the level of that. Is probably a pain in the butt.
Yeah. My question is, how do they decide how close together they're going to have amphitheaters? Because there's one right there in downtown West Palm Beach as well. Literally about a half a mile south. I don't know if that town's big enough for two amphitheaters, Larry.
The battle of the amphitheaters.
All right. Well, not stopping progress there. Where you are stopping some progress is City Hall with West Palm Beach's development director, Rick Greene, which I don't know if he's related to Jeff Greene. Obviously, Greene's a semi-common name. I couldn't find it if he was or was not.
I doubt it.
I don't. Yeah. But anyway, regardless, you have a guy who, has been a long time development services director in West Palm. In fact, like almost 3 decades. So Greene stepped down following a disagreement with Mayor Keith James. not over a policy or project reportedly, but over whether a planner should be fired for delivering an honest report. I was gonna say, I mean, that feels like a little too similar to some of the previous things we've seen with the guy who's the president once again. If he doesn't get the answer he wants, you're fired. And what's especially interesting is how, and I know we've talked about this, Palm Beach Atlantic University submitting plans for a 25-story residential tower, which also included an 11-story parking garage right there on Dixie Highway in downtown. Mayor Keith James called the garage a monstrosity and said the staff would, at least he would expect the staff to, echo that sentiment. But evidently, Greene's planning team said the garage technically met city code, though they did prefer a smaller version. Either way, when one of his planners delivered a neutral public report, because God forbid we be objective, the mayor allegedly told Greene to fire her. And Greene said no and walked. That's honorable. Yeah, you see that oftentimes, like with sports coaches Greene. And stuff, like a football coach, right? That it's like, you need to fire your defensive coordinator. It's like, well, it's not his fault. It's like, well, if he's not going, you're going too. All right, I quit. Sounds like that's what happened here. Greene didn't mince words when he told reporters it's not fair for her to take the bullet for this. She's one of my best employees. So you know what? He stood his ground.
Wow.
He stood on loyalty and professionalism.
Yeah, he had enough.
Yeah.
He's been around the block long enough. He was just like, I've had enough of this nonsense. I'm out. Yeah.
And if you're going to try to kind of look at this in a positive light, maybe it's time for some fresh blood in there anyway, because of so much turnover recently with the city and this growth, bring in fresh ideas. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Keith's going to get a yes, man.
Okay. Clearly, that is the case.
Yeah. That's going to happen.
But what was interesting too is while Greene clarified that while the garage passed the technical review, the city team preferred a shorter 7-story structure. Got to go down 1 story, as if that's going to
change everything.
Yeah, Oh, man. So I guess it all came to a head over a parking garage. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Anywho, I still hope Palm Beach Atlantic is going to get their new dormitory, that 25-story building, because that's what it was about. They want to increase student enrollment by 2,000. They want to have much more on-campus housing. It's the price of progress. I don't know what else to tell you.
That's it. We've talked about this before.
Oh yeah, we've beaten this one to death more than once.
It's progress is happening. You can fight it for as hard as you want, but at some point it's happening. So, all right. So, do you want to talk about the government project that skipped public input?
I do. I thought this was funny at the time. This was another one that I found somewhat similar in ways to our current commander in chief, just because, kind of finding the workarounds, getting around the red tape. I also found it funny because if you live in Palm Beach County, you certainly see this name a lot, like when you're renewing your license plates and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, Ann Gannon. I'm like, why do I remember the name? Oh, of course. She's the Palm Beach County tax collector. Well, Ann is trying to build a 23,000 square foot service center just off Lyons Road near residential communities like Seven Bridges, Lotus, we're very familiar with, and Meisner Country Club. Originally, this project was heading for a zoning commission hearing, but Gannon just pulled the application. Now she's seeking administrative approval, a move that bypasses public meetings, community input, and county commission review. You can't stop me if I don't go to you. That's what this is clearly about.
She's trying to go live local.
Yeah. I'm like, I get it. You're trying to avoid the red tape. Ann Gannon wants to avoid a denial, obviously, after loud opposition and protests were being planned by the Lyons Road Coalition and others. That's an interesting group, the Lyons Road Coalition. They sound important. So here's the rationale reportedly behind the pushback. The site is too close to homes. It will, get this, Larry, get this, bring unnecessary traffic to an already congested corridor. And nearly 3,000 residents have signed petitions against it. Okay, well, you also have groups like Alliance of Delray Residential Associations calling this an abusive process. Local Commissioner Maria Sachs says government projects shouldn't be allowed to skip public scrutiny, which is probably the truth. I don't know. I'm not there.
It's wild. 3,000 residences signing.
I was going to say, that almost sounds like everyone there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an outcry.
Right. I mean, it's like, Lotus, it's a brand new community. I didn't move here to deal with this traffic. What's going on? You can hear it. You can hear it. I can hear it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Sachs has even proposed changing the county code so that government buildings can't be approved without county commission oversight, trying to lay that red tape to make sure this doesn't happen again. But any changes may come too late to affect this project. So you snooze, you lose, Maria Sachs.
Progress. It's coming for us all. That's it.
All right. So as far as the project itself, here's some of the details. A new tax collector service center to replace the smaller one near Congress Ave. It's scheduled to open in 2027. It would serve a growing West Delray population because we certainly know there's a lot of that. It would also offer the driver's license test, vehicle registration, title transfers, and so on. A traffic study predicts fewer than 500 trips per day, well within the limits for the expanded Lyons Road. So,
How about this, John?
I know. I saw it. We're making sweatshirts now. We are making
sweatshirts. There's an uprising.
That's going to be one of those, somebody, like a few years from now, a college kid. I mean, I would totally do it. It's going to go to a thrift store and buy it.
Right? That's a thrift store.
I would totally buy that if I was at a thrift store.
Nobody wants this. This is so good. That's so
because
good.
Without context, you're really going to be like, what the hell?
What does nobody want? Who is this lady? Yeah. I don't like, if I saw somebody walking down the street wearing this, I wouldn't know who that is.
It's like, speak for yourself, fruitcake. I mean, I think she's very attractive.
So good. So good. That's great.
All right. Well,
let's move on.
That's Florida.
Let's talk about how New York City lost $9 billion to Miami Palm Beach in the past 5 years. We've known that this has occurred on some level, but to quantify it is kind of interesting. So in the last 5 years, 30,000 New Yorkers packed up. They left the Big Apple and brought $9.2 billion in income straight to Miami and Palm Beach.
Yeah. And
this isn't just migration. It's a money shift that's reshaping South Florida real estate. And we felt it, right? We felt this move. We could see it happening. Just real estate prices, development, everything. You have wealthy people.
Wasn't developing Hudson Yards. We see what he's doing now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, New York's great. I'm not a New York hater by any means, but we've seen a huge migration from New York to South Florida, for better or worse.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen not only New Yorkers relocate, but they also relocate their investments. Right, they're buying additional real estate. They're 1031 exchanging assets from other parts of the country to this area because they want all their assets in the similar area. They believe in South Florida. They're making moves here and making bets here on the future of South Florida. And that's part of this. That's part of this big wealth move as well. And they talk about that a little bit too. And we felt that. I mean, that's a big piece. A big part of it, even to this day, we're still experiencing. I had a lady call us. I think I mentioned this before. A lady call us and she was like, my attorney and my accountant said I can't die in New York. I have to buy something and make my residence Florida so I can transfer my wealth more efficiently if I'm a resident of Florida.
Those taxes, man.
Yeah. I need to buy a house here. I need to live here for 6 months, 7 months. And make this my new homestead. And so that's happening. That's totally happening. Yeah. Let's see. It says in Palm Beach alone, 20,000 New Yorkers with a per capita income of $190,000 made the move. So we're getting relatively wealthy people relocating to the area. Again, we're feeling that for sure. Miami-Dade gained 26,000 people, averaging $266,000 in per capita income. So these are high earner households, and they're not coming to vacation. They're coming to live, spend, and invest, which is what we talked about. Yeah. Now, we have seen some people relocate back, but not enough to make the population growth go negative, right?
I was about to say, it's like, have we though? Because if anybody leaves, I don't see them going back to New York. I feel like they go basically anywhere else.
I personally haven't seen too many people relocate back to where they came from. Mm-hmm. I really haven't seen that. What we've seen is, because of this boom and because of inflation, South Florida has become very expensive, right? Very unaffordable, relatively speaking. And so the elderly, the people who historically have retired here on fixed incomes, are having a hard time, and they're selling and relocating to more affordable markets, more neutral markets from a weather perspective, right? They're not going all the way back up north, but they're going to the Carolinas, to Georgia.
Carolinas was what I immediately thought of. I mean, aside from like the Space Coast, or somewhere, and if we're talking anywhere out of state,
or they're staying in state, right? To your point, they're going to Port St. Lucie, but these other places, because of that, prices are going up in those areas too. So it's not cheap anywhere really anymore.
I feel bad because it's like, I guess in theory there are retirees that just keep migrating, almost like it's the Oregon Trail getting pushed up further the coast.
It's so true. It's so true. Because what are we seeing? We're seeing people in Miami say, "Oh, the density's too much. I'm relocating something a little less dense." So moving to like Georgia for them would be like too much of a shock. So where they move to Boca. Good schools. They're usually in their 30s and 40s. They have kids sometimes, and they're relocating out of the city because the city life they're over it, right? They've been there for 10, 15 years, and now they're ready to either commute in or work remote or change careers or whatever, and raise a family. And so they move to Boca. Whereas the people who have been in Boca forever, for the past 20, 30, 40 years, they're like, Boca is crazy. Like this is way too much now, and we need to get out of here. And so we moved to Port St. Lucie because that's maybe the less shock, still relatively close. And then the people in Port St. Lucie doing the same thing, right? And so we're seeing this like migration, right, to just to more open space relative to where the people were before in most cases. Yeah. So that's what's happening. We're seeing that for sure.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, would we want to talk about the AI startup that's revolutionizing construction estimates?
I think this is just interesting because, there's a lot of innovation happening here in South Florida, right? There's
everywhere with this AI stuff.
Totally. And so Miami and West Palm, we've talked about, what did we talk about? The gummy bear. Gummy bear.
That's true.
Yeah. So there's stuff happening here. This isn't just a vacation and service area business anymore, right? There's things happening here. There's real businesses, and it's continuing to improve in that sector, right? And so this is an example of that, right? Let's talk about it.
Yes,
same
Toggle. This is Miami-based Toggle.ai.
Toggle.
Yeah, that's right. And thanks to Toggle AI, contractors are ditching the rules, and reaping the benefits of artificial intelligence. That's nice. We're talking faster builds, lower costs, and solving part of the housing crisis with code. Okay. So if you've ever been on the development side of real estate, you know how painfully slow and expensive construction estimates can be. Contractors spend weeks, sometimes months, analyzing blueprints to figure out things like how much drywall or paint is needed, how many doors or windows to order, or the total cost of materials before they even break ground. It's called takeoff. It's been one of the biggest bottlenecks in construction for a long time. And I guess with Toggle AI, it's a platform that uses artificial intelligence to automate construction estimates. So this is reportedly what it does. It scans and labels architectural plans in seconds. It calculates materials needed up to 98% accuracy. I mean, that's pretty good. It's not perfect. Reduces takeoff time from weeks to literal seconds. That's good. Allows contractors to bid on more jobs without hiring more staff. Not good. That seems to be a natural consequence of a lot of this stuff. But anyway, as we focus on the positive here, the construction costs can eat up as much as 20% of a building's budget. So those time delays obviously add to the expense, but you get rid of that, you're going to save a lot of money.
Yeah, they're saying right now the company is developing AI agents to take on a contracting quote of a 200-room hotel. The AI counts every door, classifies types, and organizes it all automatically. No more manual counting, as you mentioned. No more human error. So this is an interesting startup.
Well, this actually kind of hits close to home for me, because when I was running my own production company, one of our clients, I had to make a video that was called, the name of the software was called Vector, and that was exactly what it was for takeoff on construction costs. And it would analyze and scan the blueprints, and you could click on everything and save a whole bunch of time. And what I remember so much about it, not being familiar with, behind the scenes with construction to begin with, I was like, oh my God. So they were like doing this, not necessarily by hand, but kind of by hand, figuring it out, and not just having something where you can click on everything. Like, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
This was like just a couple of years ago. So we're in the 2020s and you guys are still doing that. What the hell is happening? Anyway, sorry. I just had a total flashback. As soon as I saw the word takeoff, I was like, oh my God. All right. I remember this.
I get it. That's
Is that what Dana does?
She uses some technology that kind of automates the process as well.
Okay. So
but she spends it so my fiance is a general contractor and a designer. And so, for anyone who doesn't know, and so, she's very in the weeds with the CAD drawings. Like, she's drawing them, she's speccing it, but there's that takes time. At some point that's going to be transformed as well. You're already seeing it in the video editing space. I mean, it's crazy what we can do every day. It's like something new, right? With that. So
people kind of
yes,
I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. They certainly embellish what it's capable of. There's no question. I mean, you see some of the videos people make, but it's not as easy as just, you just throw it in. It comes out like, no, because I've been because I'm trying to stay on top of all of it. And you see, it's like, no, that doesn't necessarily work that well. There's a lot of trial and error.
I totally agree. But I think even the people who are embellishing, eventually, sooner than later, it's going to catch up to their embellished statements, right? So at least that's what you and I have seen, I think, on some of the stuff we've done for marketing. But yeah, let's finish on number 11 that we plan to talk about. This is Lennar planning to build over 760 homes in West Boca Raton on a golf course. This is the Boca Lago West project here, which has been talked about, but let's
there's a lot of stuff in Boca Lago.
Yeah, I want to pull up the map location here. Yeah, so let me share. This is Boca Lago. So another South Florida golf course just hitting the chopping block, right? They've sold this to Lennar. Lennar has proposed to build 760 homes on the green space.
So what, they're taking over the golf course? I mean, they're getting rid of it for this?
Yeah, exactly. And so we've seen this happen here and there, right? And as these communities are like, we're not even using this. Actually, we could just sell this to a developer and get this thing, get some cash for this and improve the area. And this has happened more than once, but this is yet another one that's 760 homes. This is a big project, right? This is like bigger than the Lotus Palm and Lotus Edge projects, right? So
that's saying something.
This is big. Yeah. Those have been the bigger projects in Boca. So this is one of the bigger projects. 762 total homes, including luxury condos and 2-story townhomes. They're putting in supposedly a new driving range and other golf course upgrades. So they're not getting rid of everything.
I see.
33 acres of natural space preserved. That's interesting. Condo buildings as high as 4 stories, right? Development still under county review because this is in the county space. It's not in the city territory. And it has not been approved yet. And so there's people, as we know, that are against this. So yeah, let's hold on.
And I bet it's going to involve traffic.
Yeah.
And so like, I almost feel like if you're somebody who has to follow all the politics of these development projects, you almost have to have a bingo card, and just sort of like what excuses people who are opposed to building something will have. I mean, it's like, traffic's your middle square. And then, you kind of pick out all kinds of reasons that they're going to say you can't do it, and you fill it out. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. Let me pull up the location.
You're like, where is he going with this? I'm just saying.
All right, here we go. This is what I want. We actually have a listing in here now, and it's been a topic of discussion. So we were kind of prepared for this, but now we're getting more public communication on this. They're, obviously they're going through the process here. So they've purchased some portion of this territory, and they're building all within this. It's kind of wild to think they're buying like a golf course, and then they got to rearrange roads and streets and all that stuff.
It's the layout is it's fascinating. You kind of have normally, I picture sort of the course in the middle. This one is a little more spread out. It's different.
Yep. So, hey, this is probably a higher best use. It is. It's higher and best use is more homes. We need more homes in Boca for the amount of people that are trying to be here, and it'll help kind of temper the pricing if there's more inventory. And this is the biggest thing. We always say to clients, there's not really much more space to build, so the inventory is kind of going to be hampered, so supply will remain at a certain rate because you don't have a bunch of new product coming online, and so that's going to help keep prices up or stable. So, and that's one of the selling points of Boca Raton, right? There's not very many places to build. You got the Everglades here. That's it. And we're pretty much already built out. So that's, that's that.
Where there's a will, there's a way, Larry.
You've probably seen, what we reported on that pulled this off. Remember Nuevo Boca?
Yes, I do.
So that was not a short-term rental.
Are they still? Yeah. Are they still building those?
Yeah.
I know they were hard at work.
They're done. They're done.
Oh, they are done.
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty occupied, and they're getting big boy rents. It's like 7s, 8s.
Really?
I don't know if they're getting 9s, but I've heard people paying 7s and 8s for these single family homes they built. So this is a community where they bought the golf course, and that was a defunct golf course, and they got approval to build all these units called Nuevo Boca, and they're building them. The developer built them and is renting them out. So unlike Lennar, who builds and sells,
which I think that's just about what everybody does.
Yeah, this is a newer model, which is build to rent by these developers. They build them out and then they rent them out, and then if they ever want to sell them, they can sell them off individually. They can sell off the whole portfolio to everyone. So they have like a lot of flexibility here as an investor. So, but you can see they bought this golf course. It's all over the place. Look, right?
I remember.
Yeah, we ran around all over this, shooting video. So they've put in single family homes all along these golf course all over the place. And so
they were doing a lot of building.
You can see them. This is actually finished right here. So all these, so this has been a trend to buy these golf courses and do that. Let's see what it looks like down below. So yeah, here you go. This is Nuevo Boca. So that's what they look like. You can see them all. So that's been the thing. So Lennar is going after it, and Lennar will likely get this done.
I know what I was going to say. You speak of defunct golf courses. I know pretty early on when we started working together, Ocean Breeze. What is going on with that one?
So I've received, if I had a second, I could pull it up, but because we have a couple properties for sale on Ocean Breeze side, right? So
Yeah.
part of it's private and will be returned to a golf course, and the other part is owned by the city, and that's what we were talking about earlier. The city bought that from the owners, right? And they spent a bunch of money, and they were buying that just for the history. For anyone who's listening, they bought that land to put a golf course in place. I'll actually show you guys where it's at, and then Michael Dell, who bought the Boca Raton Club, also when he bought the Boca Raton Club, he bought it included another golf course, and so he donated that golf course, and so the city was like, oh shoot, we don't need this golf course anymore. We just got this donation, right? And so then they were like, what do we do? And so this whole territory over here and over here. The city said, okay, change of plans. Let's figure out what we're going to do. We own this thing now. We gotta do something. So I think it's a great turn of events. I know it was a big spend. And I think the park's better anyway. So they're going to build a huge park with pickleball, walking trails. I mean, this thing's huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, because I was over there pretty recently,
Yeah.
That's Boca Chica and all that. I'm just like, gosh, you got so much open space
It's
here.
been junk for so long too. It's going to take some time, but once this is done, this is going to really improve like this community, that community. Boca Chica condo is going to have gorgeous views instead of kind of this weird, like just open, unkept view of an old non-existing golf course. We have listings here, and we just closed one yesterday right here. So we actually got the most recent plan from one of the owners. They got the email or whatever, and so again, it's going to be awesome. Pickleball, just parks and walking trails and all that good stuff. Tennis courts, etc. So, and then over here is I think that's what you're referring to, the Ocean Breeze golf course. So that's it. It's not moving as fast as I had thought it would. Because I was driving.
I mean, we talked about it. I mean, almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, I drove by there because we drive by there all the time because we work in this area quite a bit. So it hasn't. I haven't seen like material. They're not moving dirt. We'll put it that way, right? I haven't seen like just things happening. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully they don't screw that up. So
hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we're touching on? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. On behalf of Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next one.
See you guys.